Hi guys, I'm Ben from Session Media, and today we're going to be talking about a tool called Google Tag Manager. This tool, in short, allows you to track absolutely everything that goes on in your website, whether that's someone clicking on an email that's going to get in contact with you, whether they filled out a form, whether they've clicked on a video, whether they signed up for your email list. You can track all of that with ease using this process. So stay tuned. For the purpose of this example, let's use the Session Media site, and let's say we are going to try and track people who sign up for our newsletter by filling out this form here. Now, a lot of sites that you go on, you'll see newsletter sign-ups like this one, and when you click on submit or send me stuff or whatever the call to action is, it will just have a little message at the bottom popping up saying, thanks for joining, you'll hear from us soon. So how would you go about tracking this and any other bits on your website, like button clicks, if someone clicked on client login, if someone went to the bottom and clicked on our email address? How would you go about tracking all of this? Now, as mentioned, Google Tag Manager is one of those tools that we use across all of our clients because it makes managing events and goals and every bit of activity on our client site extremely easy. So how do I go and start tracking this? So ultimately, what I needed to be able to do is track when someone clicks this button, send me the information that someone's clicked the button, and then I need to then pass that information into Google Analytics so that I can start, use that as actionable data and actually start to use it in my sort of, optimization planning moving forward. So first things first, if you go into Google Tag Manager, if you don't have Google Tag Manager set up, I'll put a link to how you can install this in the comments below. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sort of show you how, once you have got it set up, how you can go in to Google Tag Manager and actually track absolutely everything that you need to. So first things first, let me take you through a couple of these different sections within the homepage of Tag Manager. So first of all, we have variables. I'm not going to go too much into variables today, but they'll become more obvious throughout the video what they are. They are simply identifiers of certain elements of your website. So a button will have certain different variables that we can either reference in order to tell Google Tag Manager Analytics that it's been clicked on, but this will become more clear. Triggers are what the action is that we're actually performing on the site. So should we release a trigger when someone clicks a button, when someone scrolls a certain depth on a website? What is the actual trigger, what's the actual action which is going to trigger something in order for us to listen to? And then tags. Tags are associated with triggers. So when should we fire our analytics tag? When should we actually say, this is a goal? That's when the tag should come in. So a trigger will fire a tag. So if we say, on this button click, the button click is the trigger, the tag is saying, analytics, listen to this trigger. Okay, so this will come a little bit clearer, hopefully, once we go through this video. So first things first, we need to go on triggers and create something for, our account to listen to. So we click on new. The first trigger we're going to set up is just a test, just so we can go on the site and start, triggering different aspects of different variables and different aspects of the site and start looking beneath the hood of our site and what actually is happening behind the scenes. So I can just test click here and go on trigger configuration. I can then, there's lots of different options here for lots of different objectives you can track, but for this one, we just click on all elements and click on all clicks and save. So we now got the test click here. And what we can do now is click on something called preview. And if we go back onto our site now, there's one thing you might be able to notice if we refresh this page, is there's a little panel in the bottom here now, and this panel here is your Tag Manager panel. So all the time that we're in preview mode, up here you'll be able to see this, and this pretty much will show you exactly what triggers are going on and what tags are being fired on what pages of your website. So because we set up that one click trigger already, every time we click somewhere, you can see on the left hand side it pulls up something called a click. So click, click, they keep piling up down here, and wherever I click, that will be triggered. So if we go down and click on this button and click again, this will come up. And what these are here, at the moment there's no tags being associated with this trigger, but that's what we're in the process of doing at the moment. So if I click on variables, I can go down here and see all the variables, which I briefly mentioned earlier, which are associated with this trigger. So behind the site, we have things like the event is a Google Tag Manager click, the URL, click URL, I mean, it goes nowhere, so it hasn't got anything there. The page path, so we're currently on blog, and Session Media Blog is a page URL and everything else. So there isn't that much information currently behind the scenes of the website. So what we're going to need to do is go back in Tag Manager and click on Variables. Once we're in Variables, as you can see here, click URL, event, page host name. If we go back on the site, event, page host name, these are all the variables which are showing up. So we need to add a few more variables to make this easier for ourselves. So click on Configure and go down to clicks. What we want to do is click on click element, click classes, and all the other tick boxes of this region. Yeah, cool. So every time you make any updates to this, you want to go back and click refresh. So now we've got all of these new variables available to us. If I click refresh here, and again click on this button here, we can see all the new variables which we've just associated, all the click classes. So we've got click classes, click element, click ID, click target, click text, send me stuff. So those are the variables. They're actually things that are associated with the triggered event. It's something called the data layer, but we won't go into that too much in this video. So what we have now is we have this click class which is associated with this button. So if I want to go through and track this form, I can take this click class, go into this trigger that I've created. I'll create a new one, and I call this one sign up for form. Go on all elements, click on some clicks, and as it's only a click class contains, and then I can paste this here. So I can save that. And that now will become a trigger for just that button in itself. We now have our sign up form here, which is triggering every time someone clicks on this button. So if we go and we now create a tag and go new, and what do we call the trigger? Sorry, sign up form. Go on new, and then we'll call it sign up. And then tag configuration, just if you select this one at the moment, this is the Analytics Universal tag, which is the tag configuration. So that says on all pages, look out on all pages, look out for something called an event. And this will become clear later because ultimately we want to be able to pass this information through to analytics to be able to make use of this information and easily digest it and action it. So let's call it form fill action sign up. And this will become important later. Now, if we want to be able to actually give us more information from the event and say what page was this form filled in from, because obviously it's going to be on all of our blog pages that opt in, we can also do things like dynamic variables. But I think we're going to save this for another video because it sort of gets slightly more complicated when transferring that data into analytics. Get rid of that. And then what we need to do now is go on enable override settings and then enter our analytics ID into this section here. So quickly go into analytics if you have that set up. Go in admin, property settings, and then just copy and paste that in there. So what this does is then pushes this data into analytics so you can then go and track this form. Great. So next, once we've done this, create the analytics thing to push it into analytics, created an event and created the category and action and associated it with a tracking ID, we can go in trigger. So the triggers we've already created are a sign up form. So what we're saying is anytime someone clicks on that button, push this information into analytics and we save. So now we've done that, we can go and test this is working. So let's just refresh this quickly. And if we go back on our site now and refresh it, we can now see a tag under this section, which we couldn't see before. So what we've done was we created a tag which is called sign up form, which is going to be triggered if we do an action on this page, which we click on this button, and we can see tags not fired on this page yet. But if I click this button here, it moves up for tags not fired on this page, so it's just been fired on that page. So the action of me pressing this button here has now fired the tag on this page. And if we want to go one step further to analyze to make sure that's worked properly, we go on real time in our analytics, go on events, and we can see here that just a second ago, someone has created a event category form fill sign up. And we know that's us because obviously we have just created this and it's been pushing into analytics as form fill sign up. And that has just been triggered in analytics. So this is how you can start tracking activities such as, Ajax forms and forms that don't have thank you pages, which makes it slightly harder to track everything else, whether it's, an email address which someone's clicking on or a phone number or whatever it is. You can end up tracking it through using Google Tag Manager. Now, one step further, if we want to then go and create a goal, which uses this trigger, so then we can actually go and look at reports which say, we've got X amount of goals last week from people signing up, and this is, the channel they came from. Was it paid? Was it social? Was it organic? You can then just go on to admin, goals, new goal, custom, let's call it form fill newsletter sign up, use an event, continue, and then this is when we can go back into our tag manager and go form fill and sign up. If you want to associate with a value, you can do, you don't have to. I usually just leave it as that because it's not an e-commerce store. And then you can verify the goal, which will then show you, this is a new thing that we've been testing, a new button. So it's got 0% conversion rate at the moment, but it will show you if you've had previous conversions, so you can then go and test it. But a better way to test it, let's refresh this again. Click send me stuff. It's fired the tag here. But also, I want to see now, if I go into real time, and rather than clicking on events, click on conversions, I can see form fill has 1 conversion, and you can see it happening in real time 15 seconds ago. So what you can do then is obviously add it to your standard reporting, whether it's for a board meeting or just for yourself, just to work out, which channels are performing best. You can go on channels, and then you can drop down the goals in which you're looking to judge. And obviously it hasn't pulled through yet, so it's a little while. Form fill newsletter sign up. And there you can start seeing, where different traffic is coming from and, how many goals are being, associated to each of these channels. And it really starts to paint a bigger picture. I mean, whether that's a newsletter sign up like we showed you or via email address, or, even someone's clicked on a video play, and you can use that data to create a remarketing group, which is something that we're currently creating a video on as well. This is a great way of making sure that everything that happens on your website is tracked, so you can start to associate value against each of these channels, and how much you should be focusing and doubling down on certain places which are generating the most leads and sign-ups and asset downloads for your company. So I hope that's been helpful, and as usual, any questions, feel free to email me at ben@sessionmedia.com. So thanks guys for listening, and speak to you soon.